Jenny Nordberg. She has authored a book called The Underground Girls of Kabul. She will be joining us a little bit later. But first, New York City hosted the biggest climate change march in history yesterday, featuring, of course, the biggest hat and the biggest sign and the biggest, kindest puppet librarian and the biggest pain in the ass to get across the street just to get to Chipotle.
There were bold-faced names. Former Vice President Al Gore, Mayor Bill de Blasio, and UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon.
Whoa! 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 Stop the parade! Ban Ki-moon? The biggest climate change in history. Would you come straight from your audition for You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown? Look at you! Wearing your camp clothes? Ban Ki-moon, you're the head of the UN. And by the way, what a get for UN radio. UN radio getting Ban Ki-moon. No, I can't talk to you. Oh. Of course, politicians weren't the only big shots on hand. There were A-list movie stars like Mark Ruffalo and Edward Norton. Both have become acutely aware of environmental dangers since their encounters with gamma radiation. They really have had both. With that size and star power, you know cable news gave it everything to have.
Allison Cossack is in New York. Describe the scene for us earlier.
Earlier, it's actually happening as we speak.
Parade's happening right now. Perhaps you can tell by the fact that nobody can see me in my own news report. Come on, CNN. This is crowd footage 101. You put the reporter in front of the crowd. MSNBC, show them how it's done.
Let's head there now. We've got MSNBC's Ned Resnikoff, who's standing by.
Oh, Jesus! Not that far! Come on! Kill the feed! Got a giant meteor approaching the parade! With yesterday's soup in his stash. All right, now you may be thinking, do we really need a march to raise awareness about global climate change? I mean, it's an accepted scientific phenomenon pretty much everywhere. Here's why you need the march. It's accepted pretty much everywhere, but there's one place called the United States House of Representatives Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. This is true. Last week they held a hearing that they apparently recorded in 1971. I guess that's the technology part of the committee name, on President Obama's plan to shrink carbon emissions 30% by 2030. The hearing's Sisyphus, presidential science advisor John Holdren, charged with the impossible task of pushing 1 million pounds of idiot up a mountain. Of course, like any avalanche, it began rather innocuously. Texas Republican Steve Stockman.
The lead scientist at NASA said this. He said that what ended the ice age was global wobbling. Is the wobbling of the Earth included in any of your modelings? And the answer was no. When you have a model and you say we're going to leave out the most important impact of that model out of our theory and not talk about global wobbling, how can you make projections?
What's up, scientists? Global wobbling, bitches? He sees your so-called global warming and raises you a global wobbling. Explain that, Dr. Whitehouse.
Global wobbling, which refers to changes in the Earth's tilt and orbit, takes place on characteristic timescales of 22,000 years, 44,000 years, and 100,000 years. It is very slow. Global wobbling is a tiny effect on the timescale of 100 years in which we try to run these models.
I didn't know we'd be talking to an actual scientist. All right, Holdren, you aced the wobble warming. Riddle me this.
At what point a level of CO2 does CO2 become damaging? At what level does it become harmful to human beings?
Boom! Boom! How can CO2 levels be dangerous when I can still breathe?
Vice Chairman Rohrabacher, I always enjoy my interactions with you.
Much in the way one enjoys playing peekaboo with a baby, or perhaps teasing a cat with a laser pointer.
I have to say, with respect, that's a red herring. We are not interested in carbon dioxide concentrations because of their direct effect on human health. We're interested in them because their effect on the world's climate. And climate change has effects on human health.
Well, then let me ask you again, why can we still breathe? That's what I'm asking. I mean, you can hear me, right? We're breathing. And it got more amazing as it went. Indiana's Larry Bouchon.
It's not about affecting the global temperature and climate change. There's public comments out there that question has been asked and answered saying no.
You should look at the scientific literature rather than the public comments.
With all due respect, Representative Bouchon, I suggest you get the Journal of Applied Meteorology and Climatology as opposed to the YouTube comment feed of Obama Lies 1776. But here's where Bouchon gives away the game.
Of all the climatologists whose career depends on the climate changing to keep themselves publishing articles, yes, I could read that, but I don't believe it.
I do not believe the scientists because it is their profession, not their hobby. Well, since we're talking about the influence money might have on climate change opinion, it turns out Representative Bouchon's three biggest campaign donors are Murray Energy, Koch Enterprises, and Peabody Energy. And trust me, those three well-funded companies would love to disprove climate change to the satisfaction of the scientific community at large. So if scientists could be bought, these motherfuckers would have already made it rain in Nerd Town. Trust me. And again, I cannot stress this enough. This is the House of Representatives Committee on Science, Space, and Technology.
How long will it take for the sea level to rise 2 feet? I mean, think about it. If your ice cube melts in your glass, it doesn't overflow. It's displacement. I mean, this is the thing, some of the things that they're talking about mathematically and scientifically don't make sense.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I don't even know. I don't even know what to do with that. How far back to the elementary school core curriculum do we have to go to get someone on the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology caught up? Do we have to break out the paper mache and the baking soda so you can make a volcano? Is that what we have to do? Is that how basic the science class was when you went, I don't need to know this anymore? I mean, for God's sakes. Look, here, look, here, look. Here's a glass of ice water. Hey, that ice isn't making the water overflow because it's already in the water. But imagine there's a whole bunch of other ice that's not in the water. It's on the land. You know, the part where the water isn't. And then when temperatures rise and the land ice melts enough to fall in, oh, it's everywhere! It's everywhere! Do you understand? Ah! Wait a minute. Global warming giant towels. Ultimately, the whole incredible and, by all appearances, willful misunderstanding of how the scientific method has been applied to climate change models and the effects of warming can be, pardon the pun, boiled down to this exchange.
That scare tactics like that, is really appalling to me, to use medical information to scare parents that their children about asthma attacks and scare people saying they're going to have heart attacks. I would argue that we should all, on both sides of this discussion, avoid scare tactics.
First of all, there aren't both sides to a discussion. But he's basically saying is it is unfair to talk to us about the scientific or medical consequences of our actions because they're scary. And we really don't feel like doing anything about it anyway. So from now on, why not agree that science and the oil industry both have opinions? Oh, and before you tell your kids to wash their hands after they take so they don't spread disease, maybe we should also spend an equal amount of time hearing from Big Fecal. We'll be right back.